Today on the market, we had another ascension. We're coming back. We're making new highs on the day and on the week, new local highs, and we're inching closer towards our target of 13.5 to 13.6. Now, what I want to show you really quick before we get too in depth in the video is Bookmap and what's really going on here. Now, throughout the day, beginning of the day in particular, up until about 11 a.m., what I was telling everyone specifically in Discord was this. So going into this, as you can see right here, what I was saying was pretty slow day, SPY trading in a $1 range, which we'll get to here in a second. Not super interested until we can get established above a daily open or previous highs, just sitting on my hands. And then eventually we got into Netflix, which I'm going to explain here in a second. Now, again, you can see here, so what I'm looking at, look at the bottom left of the action, right? So you can see this is your CVD. Red implicates that sellers are dominating. Green implicates that you're into a bullish side of things, right? As far as volume. Now, until about 10:30, 11, you sat in the red, just chop, chop, chop. Now, when we go back to the chart, you weren't necessarily seeing too much bearish action, right? So what I want to do is highlight SPY. So when we look here, you weren't really seeing that much bearish action. You came down to your previous highs, which is highlighted zone, which is kind of the top of that previous zone we've been mentioning, and then you bounced up. And now I want to highlight what happened when you started, quote unquote, bouncing up, right? You started making higher lows throughout the entire day, basically until the end of the day. Right? End of the day, higher lows, continuous, continuous, continuous. And this is your key range of support. Now, again, if you're trying to make these supports on your own chart, all I'm doing, simply put, if you haven't seen the educational videos, all I'm doing is marking out previous highs. So on SPY, these were your previous highs you had made, and you were trading in this range like we mentioned, right? So you were coming down, coming back up, just back and forth every single time playing pinball. Eventually, you broke above. You came and retested, which is ultimately your buying opportunity, and you've been trending up since then. So I want to make sure that's very, very clear as we look here. So since then, on the morning, we saw that bearish volume indicator from CVD. We made that essential low beginning of the day around 9:30, and then from there, nothing but upside. And then again, what I want to highlight is around 10:40 right here is where you start to see the bullish volume overall taking over. So as we go back there, you can see right here, 10:30, 10:40, you start taking over. And that's where we started grabbing calls on Netflix. Now, Netflix is a play I've been talking about for a while. I'm going to get into that here in a second. But overall, on the broad scale of the market, that's where we looked at it and we're like, we like what we saw. So what we were seeing here too is SPY is lagging behind Nasdaq. So if we look at Nasdaq, look here really quick. Nasdaq, yeah, you had a little bit of a drawdown back to your previous level we mentioned. This is all mentioned from yesterday. All these boxes were drawn yesterday, all these key levels. I don't really switch things up unless there's a very big momentous type of price action happening on, right? So I try to keep it pretty steady so you guys can follow along and hopefully you can learn along the way if you're new to the channel. So you come back, retest, and you bounce. This is our level we mentioned. We mentioned this level and then your level down here of 13.1. That's what we talked about. Now, before we get any further, what I have to recommend and ask you to do is consider liking and subscribing. Every single day I'm making these videos and keeping you updated on the market and showing you key plays I like. Near the end of the video, I'm going to go over some stocks that I'm liking and things that I'm looking out for tomorrow. So hopefully you can be prepared. Make sure you're watching out and watching the overall market because the indexes move your stock whether you like it or not. So make sure you're paying attention, consider liking and subscribing. Let's get back to it. Now, looking right now, in my opinion, looking at these indexes, let's talk about a few things. You had a little bit of sellers showing up, but even then, nothing less this morning. But that sell-off this morning, I don't believe sellers have control. Again, I'm going to keep showing you the past because the past is going to show you what the market has done and what the patterns that are taking place right now. So previously, when sellers take control, we've gone over this past few days. If you need to skip ahead, skip ahead. But sellers do not hold back. When sellers are taking control, we've gone over this. The bulls take the stairs, the sellers take the elevator, and it's been nothing but downside when sellers step in. We can go over the past few months, the sellers. This is when sellers are stepping in, right? So let's keep looking at the price action. Sellers stepping in. What's happening here? Every time you're dipping on these longer time frames, so when you start to see a dip, I recommend, if you're on the few hours of looking at what's happening, take a step back, look at the 4 hour, look at the daily. You will continue to test key levels and bounce and bounce and bounce. Even on SPY, even with SPY looking weaker than the Nasdaq and Qs, you look still very strong. There's no selling pressure here. It's just not yet. You haven't seen it step in. You're seeing resistance at this key level, 415 to 417. After you get above that, we're going straight to 430. But right here, until you get above that, so I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying we're going to 430 right now, but if you get above 417, 418, you will go to 430 almost instantaneous. It's completely illiquid. There's nothing in that range. There's no resistances. You will go straight up. So keep that on your radar. But looking at NQ, NQ's already in the key range we mentioned. If you've been here for the past few days, we're very close to the target, 13.5, 13.6. And where does that go back to? It goes all the way back to your previous level back in May, which was our key resistance that we had, the triple top back in May at 13.5, 13.6. So that's what we're looking at right now, and then we're getting very, very close. So again, on the market, you still look bullish, you still look strong overall. You got to love what you're seeing. You got consumer confidence coming out tomorrow. That's one thing I will be looking forward to. So check out investing.com if you want to see that overall information. Now, going into this, you continue to push up. Now, there's a few things that have been happening during this time. We mentioned yesterday on Cheddar Flow, and I'm going to go over Cheddar Flow and Bookmap a little bit more in depth right now, but we mentioned on Cheddar Flow specifically, you had a lot of volume on Qs towards the downside. And the same volume is stacking back in with a lot of that put flow. Now, what's important to mention here? If you're buying puts, then people obviously have the stock to cover those puts, correct? So if we're selling these puts and they're putting them on the market and people are buying these up, it's important to know that that buying pressure is pushing us up right now. And we're getting really close to that target. So 13.5 still remains my target. Could we get shot down? Yes. But overall, as long as we remain above 13,000 in these key ranges, you look strong. So going into this, you're still seeing that volume pressing us in here. And again, it's worth mentioning there is a lot of put volume flowing in here, specifically for mid-August, about August 19th. I would really be focusing on that key date. And then going into SPY, you can also see what's coming in here as well. 1.4 is still pretty high. You're still definitely in favor to the put side, and you're still seeing SPY chop around the range, which we're going to talk about here in a second. And then last but not least, VIX, which is definitely in favor of calls. And if VIX goes up, theoretically, SPY Qs go down. So as we're looking here, these are what I'm looking at. This is what I've been overall trading. Now, as we're looking here, I'm still looking at the upside just based on this trend. You higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and you're getting back to that resistance. So we're sitting at a new high that we made on the day in the pre-market about this level right here. You continue to test it. Going into tomorrow, it's looking like this will be tested again. Now, if we open up tomorrow morning and you're above this range, you're looking pretty bullish. But I want to highlight something here in a sec. So you're looking bullish like that. You'd be looking for calls if you retest, and that's where you'd want to obviously go long. But I want to highlight something here in particular. If we're looking at a trade and we're looking at the overall broad scale market, this is how I look at the market in particular. So just take it, leave it, do what you got to do. So this was our original range down here. The 13, actually, sorry, got to go a little bit lower. Right here, 13,000 down to 12.75. This was where we were bottlenecked. We're going back and forth, back and forth. I said once you get above 13,000, you got to go long. That's where you're going to make your money. If you follow the previous videos, you saw the key targets we had on Netflix, we had on AMD, we had on Nvidia, we had on Tesla. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but those all hit so far. Those are all bullish. You can't dispute that. They broke out. They set up perfectly, and that's how they ran. Now, what I want to highlight though is everything I'm looking at like this. And I recommend you start to kind of look at this as well. So hypothetically, if you get above 13,000, your upside is to around 13.5. And if you quote unquote have stops, then your stop is going to be around this range right here underneath. This is just hypotheticals to just see. So if we're looking here, if you're above 13,000, your upside potential is all the way to 13.5. Okay. Now, as you increase and get higher, what happens? This number starts to decrease. So your upside potential decreases. So as you're entering here, you have less room of upside. Now this number also decreases because your stop loss would also change. But you have to realize your target gets closer and closest. So when you're looking at trades, as you get closer to your target, you have to consider there's less upside, there's less profit potential for me to make. Therefore, it's coming more in favor of possible quote unquote downside. Now, I'm not saying to go short in the market. I'm not bearish right now. Long term, yes, I see downside. Short term, I don't see the downside right now. Now, looking at this as a whole, what am I saying? I'm saying I still see the upside at 13.5, but be careful because the upside is now getting limited. For instance, we look at some of these bigger stocks. Microsoft. How has it done in the past week since we've overall started running? It's gone from 250 all the way to 283. What about Nvidia? What's happened here? Over the past week and a half, what's happened? You've gone from 165 to 192. Okay, crazy. Great run. AMD, what's happened here in the past week and a half? Gone from 86 and you hit 103. Been telling you all week you're hitting $100. Guess what you did yesterday? Still running. Netflix, how you doing here? Netflix is getting above that key level we mentioned. It's looking very strong, but it's worth mentioning. You've ran quite a bit. Now, am I saying these stocks don't have room to keep going up? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that you're getting less and less upside potential. So your risk to reward is definitely shifting in the favor of there's becoming a chance, if we get some bearish news, that the downside is going to start outweighing the upside potential. So when you're going into some of these trades I'm going to mention here in a second, just consider that when you're leveraging or getting into those, that your upside is now minimizing. So if you're not already in positions, you're not already set up, then you need to realize you need to take a step back and look at how much potential upside do I have as far as how much potential downside do I have. So continue looking at that. So as we get in here, obviously what we're looking at tomorrow, very quick, very sweet, short, sweet to the point, looking for a break to the upside, a retest, and then a push to 13.5. If you're going to get it tomorrow, most likely is going to be the day. Looking at SPY. SPY's really been a lackluster overall pick. Looking at SPY, I wouldn't have touched it. I wouldn't have traded it. You could have made some money to the upside, but it's just not what you want. You come down, you chop back up. You couldn't hold the daily. 417 is your high range here. Your low range, you keep coming below the 413. Not really holding that range. So looking here, if you get above the daily for 414.5 and you can hold there for about 15 to 30 minutes, I'd be looking for an upside break to 415.7, retest those highs, and then a 417 touch. That's what I'd be looking for here. If you get above 417, 418, you're clearly, in my opinion, going to 430. My opinion, take it or leave it. But it's looking less and less likely that you're going to get a 430 because Nasdaq has already almost got to its range and to its target, and they're so disconnected right now. But nevertheless, what stocks do we like? What do you want to trade? What are you going to make money on? Now, before we get to that, I have to tell you, if you're not in the Discord, consider getting into the Facebook group. I'm posting charts. I mentioned Facebook. I mentioned Netflix. I mentioned Shopify. I've been trying to give you charts and answer questions there as well, so make sure you're tapped in there. The link is down below. Now, going into some of these, we mentioned Facebook. We've mentioned a lot of these. I'm going to call it Facebook in particular because you hit target number 1 already and you do look good still. If you start to move Facebook here, what you want to see is this previous level hold. What you're looking for is this key level right here to hold your previous highs, this range. So you see how this previous level is holding, and look, you're finding resistance there, and then you're coming back and finding support, and you're moving back up. So you want to see this level hold. If this holds, you're looking for 172 to 173. That's my key range there. If you can get above that, you're really going to start moving back to the upside, and you could really start getting into the realm of possibly filling that gap to 182. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Minimum side, 173, 172.5. Now, Microsoft has been one of the best runners so far, and I think tomorrow could be one of its days. Microsoft, I've been saying this for a while. We've already traded this in the Discord, the 290s. What we're looking for specifically here on Microsoft is you're holding this. You're in an ascending triangle. It's really simple. You're making higher lows across the board all day. You're at that key range, key support right here. You've already been in that bull flag. We've already highlighted that in particular. And going in right here, you can see you're in that clearly hitting resistance. You get above this level around making new highs, 284. I'm looking for 290 on the minimum side, 288. You have a lot of potential upside. If you go back and you zoom out on the 4-hour chart, you can see clearly this is the range you're looking at. You have a little bit of resistance right here, but get above that, you're looking at 288, 289, all the way to 290. Clear, easy money profits. Microsoft's looking pretty good on the day as well. Now, my favorite play is going to continue and will remain to be Netflix. Now, Netflix, I'm looking at the 4-hour first, so you can see this really clearly. You've been forming higher lows for almost a week and a half to 2 weeks, pushing. People have already in the Discord have already had $300 calls on this, and we've already been kind of printing on this, but we've also been doing some shorter term trades as well, 250s, 240s, making 20, 30% here and there continuously. But we're holding some calls overnight here. And I in particular have 5 of these. I'm looking at 240s for next week, and I want to see a test of 244 to 248 roughly. Now, this is your level prior to getting into the gap, and if you get into this gap above 250, I believe shorts will have to start covering. And at that point, it could get crazy, and I believe Netflix is one of the most underappreciated stocks on the market right now, because if this happens and shorts start to cover, Netflix will go absolutely parabolic, and it'll just be a money printer in my opinion. So keep Netflix on your radar. I think it's one of the best plays overall. And I still have positions. I profited almost 30% on the day on half of my contracts, and I left 5 of them to run. Last but not least is going to be Tesla. I know people have questions about this. I know this is probably one of the most traded stocks out there. Now, yesterday I told you guys, we've been talking specifically about Tesla big in the Discord. A lot of people are Tesla traders in Discord. You've been making higher lows, but what did I say? I said your buying opportunity is down here. It's what I've been continuously saying. You didn't get that opportunity today, but I told you the price target here was 940 from Jay Ream, and he was right on the money. Opening of the day, 939, 940.5, and then you came back again at 940 flat, and then you rejected and never got back to the daily. Clearly, that was the range. That was the target. If you can remount above 940 and retest, you're looking for a break to 950, retesting 940. That's a longing opportunity to get a run, hopefully back to 1,000 and possibly even higher. So that's what I'll be looking at there for overall Tesla. Now, right now, I'm not looking at shorts on the market. So if we come out tomorrow and we start pushing down, it will be a sitting on the hands type of day for me. I'm either looking for continuation to the upside or I am not interested in trading. That is what I am doing. That's how I'm looking at the market, and that's how I'm playing it by year. My runner-up, though, for overall stock play that was just there is Amazon. We've been talking about Amazon since we were at the 102 level. And remember, we talked about the potential head and shoulders here? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it played out to a perfect T. As you can see right here, your head, your shoulder. You popped right up and you're filling the gap at 944. If you've been here for weeks at all, I told you this is one of the safest plays if you wanted to swing. I've been mentioning it. We've been talking about it. I think going short on Amazon was a mistake for anyone, but overall, Amazon's been killing it. If you get above 144, I mean, honestly, you have more room up to 150, but 144 was the target. You're ultimately almost there right now. I think you almost hit it today. So you're looking really great on the market. Going into tomorrow, I believe you're already having great earnings. If we look at the earnings overall, right now, Cloudflare had earnings. They smashed. They're going crazy. The only bad earnings that I've seen so far is Square, and you're kind of just like stale here. But overall, you still look very, very good in my opinion, and you're setting up for more upside in my opinion, going into tomorrow. So I'd be watching these as well and keeping all these on your radar of the stocks that I mentioned. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not trading downside right now. I'm not trading downside right now. I'm only looking for the upside potential. If you start to break down, I'll just sit on my hands and I won't take any trades. That's fine with me. I will always rather miss out on a trade than I would taking a trade that I was forcing and losing money on that play. That is not what I want to do. The goal of trading for me is to minimize losses while trying to maximize gains. So if I can miss out on making money, that is better than losing money. Always remember that. That should be your number one rule, in my opinion. Keep it on your list, write it on your desk, write it on your computer screen. I don't know what you got to do, but make sure you remember that rule. Have a good one, traders.